Were there people in your life who were not supportive? If you had to do it all over again, in the way you did it, would you do it the same? In today's episode, we are going to be having a candid and exciting, encouraging conversation with the one and only Darlene Smith. And yes, she happens to be my mommy. She's going to be sharing with us a pivotal moment in her life when she made an absolute 180. And ladies, I know you're going to be blessed and encouraged. There is someone out there, you're watching this video and you're at a crossroads, and maybe you need a sign, maybe you need a story, maybe you need something to kickstart a change in your life. Well, today's episode is the episode for you, so stay tuned. Welcome back to your new favorite talk show for Christian women, Grown Lady Chat, with me, your host, Dr. Sherunda Simone. That's amazing. Ladies, drop in the comments. Let me know, what are you thinking so far? Because I know if it were me, even I've known her all my life, I'm still like, wow, you really just did that, okay? You made the decision. You sign up for the LSAT, you take the test, you get into law school, all right?
Correct.
And what was the age of your youngest?
She was 3 at the time.
Wow.
When I started law school.
3.
Yes.
Which, any mamas who have 3-year-olds, you know that is that's a very intense age, okay? You're still very much mothering, one-on-one, hands-on, right? So,
correct.
Now, but where did you go to law school compared to where you lived?
University of Dayton.
Go Flyers!
Yes. And of course I lived in Butler County, and so it was probably 30 miles or so. As often as I have traveled it, I truly don't know how many miles.
Yeah.
I think about 30 miles, probably about 45 minutes or so, depending on traffic.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about 45 minutes. Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right. We have so many stories that we can share from that time together.
Yes.
Because fun fact, my mother and I started University of Dayton the same time. I began undergrad and she began law school. And we have some war stories.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That was unique because for those of you who don't know, I went to an all-girls boarding school in Jamaica, which is her alma mater as well. So when I came back to the US, it was like culture shock. And then with the 20-year gap, for her it was also a shock, would you say?
Yes.
I mean,
certainly.
It is different.
Yes.
I mean, so yeah, we had some interesting moments, to say the least.
Yes.
All right. Before we continue our conversation with Darlene, let's answer the question of the day. All right. Are you ready for the question of the day?
I think so.
Yep. Okay. All right. So make sure you drop in the comments. All right. That is the best way to enter the random giveaway, is by answering the question of the day. For today's episode, I want for you to let me know, what is the last book you read? What's the last book you read?
I rarely am reading only one book at a time. At any given time, I might have 4 or 5 different books that I'm actually reading. So I'd say one of probably the last book that I really picked up and read is the Psychology of Totalitarianism by Matthias Desmet.
Okay. And would you recommend that book?
I would recommend it. It is very good reading for me because I love to read, and but I think it's a very insightful book. It is very good.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and try and find a link for any of you ladies who would like to read that book. I wonder if it's on Audible. I'm an Audible book consumer.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. But I will try and find the link for you. All right. Thank you.
Pretty thick enough book.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So I'll link it down below if I can find it for you. And if you want to find out what book I read last, check the comments. I will have it pinned down below. Hey lady, are you a woman who loves the Lord and who also enjoys beautiful things? Well, if you are, then you are personally invited to join my exclusive Christian women's group. In this group, we chat about clothes, beauty, home decor,
parenting, marriage, cooking, and of course, our Christian walk. It's Christian lifestyle all-encompassing. So be sure to join by clicking the link below. I hope to chat with you soon. Now back to our show.
Alrighty, ladies, before our break, we were having a great conversation with my mother, Darlene, and she was talking about what was the prompt or what led her to apply for law school, take the LSAT, go to law school, become a lawyer. But what I want to talk about are the doubts. What were the worries? What were the challenges that you might have encountered or you even thought about?
To be honest with you, I thought about those challenges once I started law school.
Okay.
Before, I just said I'm going to do it. Once I started, the main one had to do with the fact that I'd been out of school for so long. I'd been out of school for over 20 years. Most of the students, not all, but most of the students were younger. They were in their 20s. They had just come out of undergrad. And here it is, I, am in my 40s, right? And I have 5 children, and I have a spouse that I'm responsible for in a way as a homemaker. And so I had doubts about how I could possibly get through studying and making sure that I was there for my children. And of course, you mentioned the fact that you had started undergrad, and that was a challenge for you coming from a totally different culture. And so I was dealing with that also.
Yes.
So
she was the shoulder
yes.
that I cried on, literally the shoulder.
Right. But I will let you know that, and I must say this, I must put this plug in, because my husband was a tremendous support. I couldn't have done it without him at all. I could not have done it without him.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I can't say enough about that. But one of the other challenges that I faced was not just having been out of school for 20 plus years, but also my undergrad was in sociology, etc. And that's a lot of writing, yes, and a lot of reading, yes, but you answered questions differently. You had to be you could be a little more verbose. And that was a challenge for me, because I had to switch gears to a legal format, and I wasn't accustomed to that. So that was a challenge that I had. And so it was not so much time management, because I've always been able to manage time, and I am a firm believer that really busy people will get things done. Somehow you're able to get things done. It's those who have too much time on their hands that truly can't get things done.
I know that we've talked about that before, because there are many times when it's like, I have so much to do, and it's when I have more on my plate that I'm more intentional about getting things done, because I know I only have 2 hours to accomplish this task. So that's interesting. Was that saying, so the devil finds work for idle hands?
Yes.
So when you have too much time on your hands. But yeah, kudos to Dad for that. Kudos.
Yes.
That's a big. And remember, he was still working. He was still the primary breadwinner at that time, right?
Yes.
So
he was the only,
he was the only breadwinner, right? So I mean, you think about that. Even it's important who you link up with, ladies. All right, it's important who you yoke up with. All right, let's take it biblical. It's important, because when you're going through these pivotal life moments, even if it's not something like a career change or starting a new career after 2 decades, it could be beginning a family, starting a small business, it could be moving cross country, getting a promotion. It's important who we link up with. So I think that's a good thing to note, that she wasn't doing it by herself. Yes, it was a personal move, but she wasn't doing it by herself. And I think that is good to note. I'm naturally, as you know, a chatty Cathy, right? Like, I am very verbose myself. And in Jamaica, we do write more poetically, right?
Okay.
In more poetic fashion.
That's correct.
Right? Whereas in the US, I don't, I mean, as a doctor, obviously it's very much get to the point. But if you read my notes, they're very much prose form. They're very much, I mean, they're full of everything, more of like a cover your tail, medical legally. But that is something that I struggled with. English 101, surprisingly, was very difficult for me. Were there people in your life who were not supportive? Or even just, looked at you with a side eye like, yeah, you're dreaming. That's not going to happen.
Yes, I don't know whether or not I would say they were negative. It was just unusual for someone, with that background of being out of school for some time and, have a family and raising a family and homeschooling at the same time, to even think of doing something like that. So it wasn't really that they were negative, but they were apprehensive. How can it be? They didn't see it. It's as if how will you do that? And I must say that, and we haven't yet mentioned God, but that's the default. It was God that helped. And so once again, not negative, but they were just not sure of how I would be able to do it.
Were there any other people who were extremely supportive?
Well, I'll say we had neighbors at the time, and the McIntoshes, and they lived across the street. And I remember when I first told her, Jackie, the wife, I first told her I was going to go to law school, and then I told her that I had applied to University of Dayton. At the time, really, your dad thought it might be a little too far to travel, on a daily basis. And so he wasn't quite sure I was making the right decision for that distance versus like University of Cincinnati Law School, which I think I had applied there. I applied to two, just UD and UC. And for UC, I think I was put on, I've forgotten what the term is, but when, it's not an absolute no.
Like a wait list or post-back?
Yes, it's right. It's like try back again. I've forgotten what the actual terminology is. So, but then when I decided, okay, UD, and Jackie, I mentioned it to her, and I said, but I'm not quite sure. It's a distance, to be traveling, daily. And she said, oh, Dee, that's just right down the street. Don't even worry about that, So she was very supportive. I mean, any little doubt that I had as far as distance, she erased that. Yeah. So she was very supportive. And of course, family, as we talked about. And then, there was our church family at the time. And most were also not negative at all, but just, wow. Yeah, we'll be praying for you. Right. You're gonna need it. Right. You're gonna need it.
Right. Okay. And so there's so many things that we can, pull from that statement alone, that answer. Your friend circle, your circle of influence, those who you're looking to for their opinion, who are you allowing to influence your decisions? That's so important. When we're talking about pivotal life changes, it matters who you're talking to, who you're sharing your go up goals with. And I'm not sure if I've ever shared this, in Grown Lady Chat, but it's important when we're talking about our go up goals, our self-improvement goals, our promotional goals, you kind of have to keep that in your inner circle only. The people that are going to truly root for you, not be yes people. Right. They're going to ask you the hard questions. They're going to say, hey, are you sure you can do this? Like Dad asked, the distance, are you really sure? Right. But then you have the other voice, yes, it's possible, you can do this, right? But it's important. Now, whereas your quit goals, I like to tell people, right? Your quit goals, you share with everybody. If I tell people in my office that I'm going to stop eating processed foods, and they stop by my office and see me with a donut, Dr. Josie, we thought you were not going to eat, because they're going to call you out. They're going to call you out, right? So your quit goals, ladies, tell everybody. If you're smoking, you want to stop smoking, tell people, because the moment they see you light up, they're going to say, now didn't you say say, because human nature is to, say, hey, hold you to it, call you out, right?
Hold you accountable.
Your I quit goals, you can tell it to anybody because they're going to hold you accountable. But your go up goals, you have to keep that quiet for a bit because it's a precious time. It's an infancy, and if you're not careful, it can be aborted because you're getting improper information and you're getting improper influence.
That's correct.
So let's get into it. All right. So let's fast forward. You've accomplished this goal. How long have you been practicing?
20 years.
Wow, 20 years. Did it go by quickly?
Yes, I think it was probably about 3 years or so. I was talking with one of your sisters, who is now an attorney also, and she said, "Mom, you've been practicing just about 20 years." I said, "Really?" And I just could not believe it.
Wow.
The time has certainly flown.
Yeah. So you're having fun.
Yes, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. What has been your most rewarding case? What would you say?
I can give you a category of cases.
Okay.
And it's in family law, which interestingly, when I was in law school, I had classmates who they took family law courses. I said I would never ever do family law. Had no intention to do family law. And then I found myself in family law.
Never say never, ladies. Never say never.
And so that's an area of law that I truly enjoy. It's a challenging area because emotions are so high when we're dealing with, yes, it's custody, etc., but divorces and, breakups, etc. And I am happily married, and so I don't advocate for divorces. And I do have people who come in that I always find out from them, is this something you truly want to do? What are the circumstances that have pushed you to think that this is something you need to do? Is there any way that you can think differently about it?
I didn't know that
and I've had several who have come to me to get a divorce and have ended up not getting a divorce because I am not for divorce, but I do know that there are times when it's inevitable. And so I get a lot of, I'd say it's not joy, but satisfaction when either it's the husband or the wife, because I do, my practice includes not just females, but male. And I do get a lot of satisfaction when they come to me, they're broken, they're crying, and yes, males do cry, and they are just so heartbroken because this is not what they wanted, and they don't see how they can go another day. Because, take for instance, it's a female, she has not worked outside the home, she has not had a career, she's just been taking care of the children, all of a sudden her marriage is going down the tubes, what is she going to do, etc. And when I see them, and then by the time the process is finished, they are smiling, they can look forward to life after the divorce. They see themselves actually achieving things again, and that's satisfactory to me because they have left from a stuck position where it seems as if there's no way I can make it another day to where they have a bright outlook on life. So really that's a category of law that I really get the most satisfaction from. The others are transactional. I do some real estate law. Probate law is another area. It's a lot of emotions usually. You really do find out what people are thinking when somebody dies.
Wow.
That's, yes, if you want to know what someone is like, let someone die. It doesn't matter if that person had money or not.
Really?
They will fuss over the least of an estate. So that's also an area that, it's challenging, but it's also satisfactory when I can actually see people move past a certain stage.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know the answer to that question. I'm learning so much about my mother today. If you had to do it all over again, in the way you did it, would you do it the same? Are you a woman who enjoys beautiful things? 34/5 Lifestyle has lovely, unique accessories for your everyday look and also for those special occasions. Click the link below to check out our latest accessory collection.
Yes, I would. And it seems as if all my answers are never clear-cut, because they really aren't. Yes, I would. I can think where, yes, it might have been a quicker route getting to law had I decided to do that immediately after graduating at 20. But I would not have had my 5 lovely children that I have now. Right, and so I think I would do it all over again.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets?
About
anything in life, as far as from 0 to 39 and then 39 beyond? Do you have any regrets when it comes to your big life choices, pivotal things?
It might my answer might piggyback on what I said before, that yes, I could be further along in my career, yes, had I decided to go past undergrad at that particular time. I knew once I was done with undergrad that I would actually get a graduate degree. That I knew. But I think I could have done that alongside also raising my family. But so if there's any regret, it might be that I did not do both earlier on in life. But other than that, and that's not even a regret as such, other than that, I don't have any regrets, because I wanted a family, started a family early, and I loved that idea, and I still love that idea. So no real regrets in career path, etc. I think if there are any regrets, it's that along the line of getting from point A to point B, there's so many times that I have allowed people to distract me. I've allowed people or allowed what they've said and their reactions to somehow deter me from certain things. And that's something that, being older now, I can say, why did I even let that person bother me the way that he or she bothered me? So if there are regrets, it's along those lines that, yes, I made certain things bother me that they really shouldn't have, because at the end of the day, they work out. And when you realize that your life is mapped out by God, and I don't care how many errors you make, He has already made provisions for those errors. And when you realize that, then you can go through your day knowing that God has me.
Ladies, you know that I reference my mother quite a bit because she is one of the constants in my ear. Whether I'm calling her or whether it's something she's told me years ago that is just resurfacing, but you do always remind me. God is not surprised. So, what advice do you have for any other woman listening and she's considering a pivot? What advice do you have for her?
If you are in a marriage relationship, one of the first things is that you will want to have your spouse on board, because you're going to need that support. He or she, if you, depending on what gender you are, your spouse is going to be that person closest to you that you're going to need support from. And you'll want to certainly get that person on board. And then as you expand, then you'll want to actually have people in your life that will support you, that will be there to hear the times that you're crying. And I didn't mention my mom because she was also a support in everything that I did, and there are others, and my sister, etc. But you want to have people in your life who will support your mission. You certainly want to be sure that it is an idea from God, that desire was truly placed there by God. But many times we waste time trying to ask all these questions. God, is it you? Is it you? Well, if you have submitted to Him, if you have submitted to Holy Spirit, then He says He gives you the desires of your heart. And so once you are truly submitted to Him, the desires that you have are desires that He has placed within you. And you can confidently then stand on His word, that His word says He won't leave you. He won't forsake you. He won't leave you hanging. And when the times do get tough, and many times we hear this and it's like cliches, the time gets tough, just hang on. They're more than cliches. You have to truly depend on God. He is the ultimate support, and you have to truly know Him, depend on Him, and be confident and trust Him that which He has placed in your heart is the way that you need to go. And He never, as my mom always said, He never, ever fails. It's impossible for Him to fail.
Ladies, that is it. That is the perfect end to this great conversation. Thank you so very much, Mom. Thank you for being here, my very, very special guest. So thank you, Mom.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. I love you.
All right. Love you, honey.
Mwah. I can't wait for us to chat it up in the comments. Alrighty, lady, until next time, remember, I am Dr. Sherunda Simone, and I will either see you at the top or from the top. You decide. Bye.